Hey guys, Lloyd from High Sierra Gear Junkies back, and today we're going to talk about belts. Now, I have these three laid out in the order of tier. I kind of break all my kit down into tiers, being budget entry, commercial, but decent and worth the money, and full custom. I'm going to start. As all you can see, these are breakers base. I have to clip in fairly often and use the actual rigger belts. So something I've kind of learned over the years and found not a lot of people have really talked about, discussed, or even know is kind of the load rating myth on riggers belts. There's kind of this, myth going around that these are load rated, which to an extent they are. But what you read in catalogs, low rate to 8,000 pounds, low rate to 10,000 pounds, whatever, is kind of misleading. Because there's not a government or military or EMS organization, NIOSH, OSHA, nothing like that, have actually load rated a rigger's belt ever. What a lot of catalog companies do is they take the highest rated piece of equipment, which is usually the webbing, at around 6,000 to 8,000 pounds, sometimes up to 10, depending on what they use, and list that. Now, the problem with that is these are all components of systems, and they're all going to break down at different levels, all right? The webbing's not going to be the first thing to break. At 6,000 pounds, that's going to be probably the last thing to go, and that's going to start fraying down at an actual thread level. Usually the first thing to go in any of these belts would probably be this one, the custom one, and that'll be the Cobra belt. The side articulating buckles will break down at about 2,500 pounds of force. These will break down the actual steel flip overs about around 3,000. You really have to worry about, as you can see right here, how the nubs kind of fit in. These are stress points that are going to snap and give way. And, that's not going to be much more than that. The level is, when you start talking 5,000 pounds, that's a lot of force, or 500 pounds, that's a lot of force, but really in the grand scheme of things, not much. I know that sounds like a lot. It's a lot of numbers just kind of out there, so I'm going to break down and talk about, just in general, what's wrong with each of these and why that's kind of a problem. Well, let's put it all in perspective. To put in perspective, the human body breaks in half at about 1,300 pounds of force. That's what's going to take to cut you in half. So at about half of what it takes to break one of these buckles, you've long since been sawed in half. Now, that doesn't sound like a problem until you start bringing quality control into the situation. I have this one listed as my budget entry because it is a Condor. Mainly because it's a Condor. Sorry, I'm in my sweats by the fire. It's a cold day out here and I've been sick. With it being a Condor, and my issues with Condor is not that to the fact that they're a lesser brand. Besides the fact that they are. It's just that they don't have the QA/QC and the still method of unknown that goes into everything they do. I like this belt though. So don't get me wrong. What I like about this belt is it is double stitched. They've taken two of these and they stitch them together all the way back, and the webbing is very stiff and great for everyday carry. I paid like $20 for this belt. So, at $20 you have a good gun platform and a good EDC platform with, just a good but basic, buckle. It's really great. Don't get me wrong on that. If that's your budget, buy it, rock it, love it. It's actually a very comfortable belt. I like it quite a bit. However, my issues with it stem from the fact that eventually I might have to clip in on this. And that's where my concerns begin. With this being double stitched, and it's two pieces that have been stitched together with 4 lines of stitching, the fact that it's a Condor brings a lot of unknowns into play for me. I don't know, I believe the correct machine is a Class 6 or a Class 8 so industrial sewing machine to stitch these together, which is what's used, I know for a fact, on the other two. I don't know if that's used here. I don't know if the thread they use to stitch them together, I don't know the quality of it. It could just be, standard household thread. I don't know that. So I could find myself, clipping in and going at it and needing to actually trust my life to this kit with these unknowns in my head. This belt can start to delaminate while it's around my waist because the threading is not, correctly stitched, or the thread itself is not a high-end correct thread. Another thing is with these cast steel, I don't know what steel this is cast from. I'm, not aware of the casting themselves, if the castings are good, bad, otherwise, there's just a lot of unknowns. That's kind of what I'm pointing out. I mean, for $20, you're getting a good carry belt, gun belt, use it as a duty belt if you need to, it's great. But the minute you start worrying about load rating and clipping in, this should be the farthest thing from your mind is the piece of kit that you have on. That being said, like I said, I do run it around town quite a bit. But when I start going up in the hills, I move to one of my many other belts. Like I said, I have quite a few belts. This is just the 3 I got out to show my 3 different tiers. Usually around this tier, actually usually this belt. This is a older Made in America Spec Ops. I've had this for about 7 years now. Quite a long time. I've worn it quite a bit, quite a few different spots around the globe, and it's held up. I'm going to go into what I like. I like the fact that it is made in America, first of all. I know the thread is going to be quality. I know the stitching is going to be done right. I mean, you can see the quality of stitching right here. I know it's going to be done on the correct machines. And I know that even the little thread they use to secure it and back it up is all going to be to spec and quality. I know the castings and the parts are going to be decent and, if not designed for daily climbing, but decent enough that in an emergency I can trust my life to it. Paid about $50 for this 7 years ago. I honestly have not kept up with Spec Ops. I've heard some of their stuff might have gone overseas. They might be making them from, lesser components now. When I bought them, this was kind of this was the 511 of the, brands you could buy. Since then, of course, 511 has come out in this range with a lot of their VTAC belts and everything like that, which are great. Same thing, mass-produced, very well done. You can trust your life to it if you need to. What I do not like about this belt, it is a single piece of webbing that is actually very malleable. So, with this being the right-hand side, where I run my weapon, this is very malleable and will bend and bind up. So with that being done, I have to flip it over, as it were, and run it upside down and deal with this loop. The loop makes it very stiff, but it's hard to thread through into the Serpas that I use. I run Serpa holsters. I also have a few Blade Techs that I like, but mainly Serpa is what I use and what I end up running. So, you go from $20 to $30 up to $50, $60 range. You're doubling the price, but really you're gaining the peace of mind of knowing that if you have to clip in, which has been a very real concern of mine in the past. I've had to clip in quite a few times on a rigger's belt, more than I tend to admit in polite company. And, you gain the peace of mind of this at least being, able to support and run your weight. Like I said, I don't know about Spec Ops today. I would look heavily at VTAC 511, anything like that. That being said, we come to full custom work. I have an OSOE and I have a HSGI belt, but this was done locally for me by a custom stitch house I have called Endeavor Stitch Works. Kerry over there, it's a one-guy op, and he's a EMS firefighter medic, and does all that good stuff. And he started making custom kit for friends, and kind of moved up, and he picked up a used industrial sewing machine, and just kind of kept going along and chugging along and moving up. And he still hasn't made a full-time gig out of it. He does really good work, though. This is probably the stiffest belt that I own out of the group. I can't even get this to deform if I try, and I've worn it quite a bit. So that's there. It has the double layering plus the internal laminate core. Like I said, that stiffens it really well. Also has the Cobra buckle, which a lot of people are, screaming about these days. One thing to go with the Cobra buckle that a lot of people kind of haven't thought about or know about. It's not like, a normal belt. You can't leave this on you can't leave this attachment piece on the end and thread it through your pants. You have to take this piece off of your end piece and actually route this through your pants, route it through the buckle, and then clip it on together. Which I don't mind doing. If my pants aren't dirty, I'll wear them, 2-3 days, especially around town or anything like that. Or if I'm backpacking and I only have 2 pairs of pants, I'll save, one nice clean set for the drive or ride home. So that's not a big deal. And with it, I can set my gear, just leave it on my pants, and that's no big deal. Not a big problem. Just slam the buckle. It comes apart. You can drop trowel and do your business and pull up, and it resets at the same tension that you had it at, which is also very nice. You don't have to go about readjusting your belt 5-6 times a day. Once it's locked and set, it's set, and that's another real nice thing I like about it. So yeah, this was $80 through Carry. OSOE, they're around the same price, I think. When I bought mine, HSGI is like $75-$80. You're not making the double the price jump like you are from the Condor to, the 511 or anything like that. But it's definitely, if you have the money and you have the time set aside, it's definitely worth it to go full custom. Just some stuff to consider. Hope you guys have a good day, and Lloyd out from High Sierra Gear Junkies. Thanks.